grateful. What a wonderful place to be. What a wonderful way to find ourselves in being. It is so wonderful to be with all of you again this morning as we continue our August series, which is a playful place. This is where we are this morning. We're having this opportunity to play. Reminds me, there was a classical piece that I used to listen to occasionally in my office at work, and the composer is Sir Edward Elgar. And the title of the piece is At Play in the Fields of the Lord. And I don't know if there was really any spiritual basis to the song, but I just liked the sound of the title, and it really resonated with me, and the music resonated with me. And so our theme actually for this month is a pause for guidance. And we're looking at the various ways that we're invited to go back within and listen to the guidance and the direction of the inner spirit, the inner guide that is always with us. And so today, a playful pause. We're invited to pause for guidance, for rest, for rejuvenation, and to prepare for the next leg of our journey. And so we welcome joy, innovation, authenticity, and vulnerability, and the opportunity to evolve our thinking. Ernest Holmes reminds us that the spiral of life is upward, and that we are to be open at the top. And as we expand our awareness of this oneness of life, this is where we find ourselves open at the top. And so in looking at ways to play, also is an invitation to rediscover and to allow the Spirit to play through us and as us, expressing divine joy and creativity and relaxation. Kids are very creative in the way that they find play, and the way they can create magic out of what seems to be nothing. And it reminds me of this little story that I heard about these two little boys who were aged 8 and 10. And they were described as being excessively mischievous, which means they were bad. And these two boys were always getting into trouble. And their parents knew that whenever something occurred in the town, that in some way their boys they had either done it or were a part of it happening. And so the parents heard about a clergyman who was coming into town who had a successful track of disciplining children in the past. And so they reached out to him to see if he could do some work with their two boys. And so he said yes, and he agreed to meet with the boys individually. And so the 8-year-old, who was probably the ringleader, even though he was the youngest one, he was probably the ringleader. The clergyman brought the 8-year-old into the office, and he sat him down and he said, "Where is God?" And the little boy did not respond. He's very quiet. And so he asked the question again in an even more sterner tone, "Where is God?" And the little boy was even quieter this time. And so the clergyman asked him one more time, "Where is God?" And again, the boy made no attempt, and so the clergyman raised his voice even louder one more time, and even stronger than before. And he said, "Where is God?" And the little boy bolted from the room, and he ran home, and he found his brother, and the brother said, "What happened?" And the younger one replied, "We're in big trouble this time. God is missing, and they think we did it." And so In shamanic traditions, there's some questions that are asked that are in alignment with the story and in alignment with what we're talking about today. And there are 4 questions that are asked. When did you stop dancing? You know, you'll notice in the Grateful song, there was dance and there was movement. When did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing? Is the next question. And the other one was, when did you stop being enchanted by stories? And when did you stop being comforted by the sweet territory of silence? And from our teachings in Science of Mind, we teach this idea and this concept of oneness. And what oneness means is that there is the totality of the human experience as spirit. This includes and embraces the idea of play, which is an important factor and an integral part of our lives. Life is meant to be good. We are designed to be happy, to be joyous, and to be free. Notice when we're not stressed, when we're not worried about what may happen tomorrow or what may happen even later in the day, how relaxed and just how calm the body is, how we can just be in that moment, be fully present. And so it is often when we take that pause from our daily schedule and take time to play, that we co-create a life that we love. And we come to remind ourselves that play is actually a spiritual practice. And a couple of points to illustrate this. As humans, we are inherently playful. And I find myself doing this quite a bit. It's often easy to see this trait in young children, the lighthearted way in which they choose to interact with life. And I'm thinking for my installation, were there 4 here? 4 of my great-grandchildren were here for the installation. The oldest one is 13, so he's kind of moving into that stage of not really fitting with the younger ones and not quite yet fitting with the older ones. So it's that awkward stage that I would not want to go back and repeat myself. But then the 3 younger ones, let's see, their ages 8, 4, 8, now 4. 8, 3, and 4. Yeah, so those are the ages of the younger one. So they came up to my apartment and wanted them to see what my space was like after the installation. And they found little creative ways to occupy themselves. You know, they were playing with their slippers, or they found something else to play with, just to entertain themselves. And it was fun just to watch them. They were in their own world. You know, the adults were having their conversation, and occasionally I would say something to one of the younger ones, or engage them a little bit. But it was just exciting to watch them just be fully present in the moment. And this is what life invites us to do, is to be fully present in the moment. Allowing Spirit to inspire and create our playfulness, our creativity, and joy in all of the qualities of God that expresses in our daily lives. And speaking of creativity, out of play comes creativity also. And I just finished watching season 2 of Making the Cut. It's a primetime video. And I think there were maybe 5 or 6 designers that initially started out. And it was a competition. Yes, it was a creative competition. And the grand prize was $1 million and a couple of contracts. It was a nice package. And so I watched as the level of the work intensified, the creative expression that came forth from these designers. They really put their all into it. And I believe that most of the designers were already successful business owners, and this competition was just another way for them to not only promote their individual businesses, but even expand out to a much wider platform and a much wider audience. And I'm just imagining in my own world, in my own life, that somewhere in playtime, that creative inspiration came forth for them to design and to create and to just allow, just to be open. And for some of the designs, you would see them in places in nature, or places where there was some architectural significance. The setting was Los Angeles for this particular segment. But you see them just sitting out in nature and just being open to divine inspiration to flow. And then out of that divine inspiration, there would be a sketch that emerged. And it was a phenomenal season that I watched. Ernest Holmes writes this in this thing called You. You exist that divine feeling, fire, imagination, and creativity may be expressed through you. The Spirit comes to you with a new and fresh creativity. Be yourself and express life as you find it. And this is what play is all about. Is to just express ourselves and life as we find it. In the second illustration, we have bought into the belief that has come from society, especially our Western cultural mindset, that says hard work is necessary. You have to work hard, you have to be productive, you always have to be engaged in doing something. And I remember when I was working in corporate, there was a buzzword, there was a buzz phrase that was going around that said, work smarter, not harder. But again, the focus was on work. The focus was not on creativity, not on finding play in the task that was at hand, but to work hard. You gotta think that we're only productive and worthy if we're doing something and accomplishing something. We've lost sight of the aspect that as spiritual beings, we are to be first in what we are to do. We are created as spiritual beings, not spiritual doings. And so sometimes we get those two reversed. Science of Mind teaches us that it is far more important to remember our oneness and to stay in the flow and the connection of spirit. And when we take that moment to pause and to remember the truth of who we are, we truly do move into that mindset of being and allow the doing to emerge from that quiet space. Dr. Edward Vion and Reverend Chris Michaels in their Prosperous Life Journal offers this to us. Spend time with people who make you laugh. You have people in your life that sometimes just the moment they walk in the room or you pick up the phone and say hello, you automatically start laughing. Just automatically start laughing. Spend time with people who make you laugh. Do things that bring you joy. Go to a funny movie or a comedy lab. Laughter isn't simply the best medicine. It is fuel for the soul. And then the third illustration that I share with you this morning is a question. Have you ever worked on something that was really hard to finish and it didn't seem to be coming together like we had expected it? Step away, and all of a sudden, there it is, poof, like magic. The resolution comes. I had that experience recently. I was working on a major project and I was trying to wrap it up. And I was getting frustrated because it was my first time managing the totality of the project. And I was really getting frustrated and second guessing myself. Have I responded to all of the right questions? Have I formatted it the right way? Do I have all of the necessary attachments that are included? And I was just starting to freak out because I didn't know if I was putting all of the pieces together. And so I got up, I walked away from the computer. I think I may have even stepped outside and taken a couple of deep breaths and just allowed myself to take that break. And when I came back and sat down with the computer, everything just flowed right in perfect order, and I was able to complete it and send it on. When we pause from our daily activities of doing, it allows us to stay in the flow and the synchronicity of life. Forcing reality works, but going with the flow results in increased happiness, productivity, inspiration, and creativity. Taking a playful pause from our responsibilities every day is necessary for our mental, physical, and spiritual health. And I would even offer this to those of us who find ourselves not in a structured work environment. We may be self-employed, we may be retired and not engaged in quote-unquote work responsibilities. And yet, taking that time away, those pregnant pauses, if you will, allows us to just refresh and revitalize and restore and renew ourselves. And Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith offers this from his book, Spiritual Liberation. Artistic perceptivity provides individuals the capacity to see beauty, the energy of luminous perfection behind a seemingly imperfect world. It enables us to see the indescribable. As a soulful artist, our inner vision begins to penetrate the world of concrete appearances. As a soulful artist, I like that. We are soulful artists, and when we tap into that inner vision, we penetrate that world of concrete appearances. And so if we were to sum all of this up and put a little bow on it this morning, I would invite us to come back to our 4 questions that we started with. When did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing? When did you stop being enchanted by stories? And when did you stop being comforted by the sweet territory of silence? And we can look to our evolutionary vision from our Centers for Spiritual Living Global Vision Statement, which says, we envision a world which has renewed its emphasis on beauty, nature, and love through the resurgence of creativity, art, and aesthetics. And then the balance for my timeless wisdoms shares with us this morning that every pull of our soul is God seeking to express itself more fully through us. It is our job to live our lives to the fullest, expressing spirit in everything that we do. Values, creativity, flow, fun, and joy, and rest are part of the values of our Science of Mind teaching. And so we're invited to see the world and creativity of spirit working in and through us in everything that we do, including and especially in play. And so, as we do on Sundays, is offer reflective questions for discussion or journaling that are based on today's topic. And so the 3 questions that I've asked our tech team to place in the chat for our Zoom audience and to place in the comments section on our Facebook page are: what is something you used to love to do, but have set aside for things that were more important, the more important in quotes? Could you set aside time each day or week to participate in that activity again? Something that you used to love to do, but you set it aside for something that is, quote, more important, end quote. Could you set aside some time each day or during the week to participate in that activity again? And the second question, do you believe that your value of worth is tied to your productivity? What would it feel like to know your inherent worth just as a human being, regardless of your productivity? Do you believe that your value or your worth is tied to your productivity? What would it feel like? And again, this is an invitation to get in touch with the feeling tone. What would it feel like to know your inherent worth as a human being, regardless of your productivity? And the third question is, who is someone that embodies playfulness and fun? What do you admire about them? Who is it that you know? Whether you know them intimately or whether you know them, their friend in your head, as a commentator often refers to. Someone that embodies playfulness. What is it that you admire about them? And I'm going to add to that. What out of that admiration can you incorporate into your life? And then our affirmation for the week is, I take time today to play with and as spirit. I take time today to play with and as spirit. And now I invite us to turn within as we pray together, knowing that the power and the presence of this one life is absolutely all that there is. It is my life right here and right now. And it is the life of everyone that is a part of the spiritual community known as the Center for Spiritual Living in Monterey. This power and this presence that lives, moves, and expresses itself as everything, this all-prevailing presence, as I like to refer to it, is expressing itself in play, in fun, in joy, in excitement, in love, in exuberance, in abundance and prosperity, in right livelihood. It is expressing itself in and through and as all beings. And so as we come together in recognition of our humanness, and that as human beings, we're called to be. We're called to be in the presence of the Lord. We're called to play in the fields of this creative endeavor, however it expresses outwardly. And whatever it is that we find ourselves engaged in, we find the time to just sit back, to take that pause, to inhale the exuberance of life, and to let go and to release any stress about getting something accomplished. Being in the flow of life, everything flows in its divine right and perfect time. And it comes to fruition, it comes to completion in the time that it is designed to do so. And so as we let go of attachments to outcomes, as we let go of any attachment to the right way or the wrong way, or we let go of those situations where we may find ourselves in someone saying, my way or the highway. We take the highway to that inner place of beings, knowing that God is my source, Spirit is my source, Spirit is my supply. Spirit provides everything that I desire in this life. Because Spirit expressing through me as me is that creative force that guides me into those places of right livelihood and right beingness. And I take this opportunity to bless spiritual communities and places where individuals are gathering, knowing the truth of their being, knowing the truth of their essence as expressions of pure spirit. Recognizing that there are many paths along this journey called life. And yet, as the roads intersect and intertwine with each other, where we meet our brothers and sisters of other traditions, we recognize that we're headed to the same goal. And that goal is this place that is called home. Home with the Spirit, with the creative essence that is expressing in and through all things. I speak my word this morning, blessing individuals who have a prayer request, whether it is a request seeking guidance for right livelihood, seeking guidance for direction toward a life goal, a life purpose, seeking right livelihood that includes abundance and prosperity, financial abundance, financial prosperity, that allows the freedom to express life to its fullness. Right livelihood that outpictures as divine, right, and perfect living places, where there's peace, where there's joy, where there's contentment, where there's love, where there's the ability to create sanctuary that feels like home, that inspires the soul, that nourishes and encourages the free flow of creativity, knowing that everything is answered with a resounding yes by this loving essence that I call God. And so for this and so much more, I am truly grateful. Giving thanks for this time together, giving thanks for all that has been shared, all that has been spoken up to this point. Releasing it into the law, which always says yes. I know it is done. I know it is complete. And so I just allow it to be so. And I invite us to affirm this by saying, and so it is. So I would just invite our family that is joining us virtually to remember that as practitioners, as ministers and practitioners, we are here to pray with you. And you may connect with us. Our contact information is on our webpage. That's not on the webpage. Our contact information is in our emails, in our newsletter. And so I encourage you to go to the webpage and subscribe to our newsletter if you have not done so. And to reach out to a practitioner to support you in prayer and with spiritual coaching and spiritual counseling. And now is our opportunity to participate in the flow of divine abundance, a substance that is known as money. We have an affirmation statement that I invite us to share together. I recognize the presence of God within as the source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything that I could desire in the life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. I release this physical substance as an outer symbol of my inner supply into the physical world. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. And again, deeply appreciation and gratitude for the loving way that you support the spiritual community. And on your screen, there are the ways to donate to the center. You may mail in a check. The address is on the screen. You may also make a donation through our secure website, and you may also text to give, and that information is on our screen. And for those who are here in the sanctuary, we have a donation box that is on the center table here in the back of the sanctuary. I invite you to donate your offerings, your tithes and offerings into that box. And we're doing this as part of our compliance, if you will, or our awareness of the protocols related to COVID. And so we appreciate your continue to do that with us. And so we invite you to return next week, those of you who are in our virtual community, where we're continuing our August series of Playful Pause, and the message is sparking imagination. Sparking imagination. That should be wonderful to share and see how that goes. And so we say thank you to our virtual community that is joining us on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. We love you, we appreciate you, and we thank God for you.